Before we get started with the video, I just wanted to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell, like and share the video, and leave a comment down below. Please do, by the way, because I actually do respond to all of those myself. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Mike and this is
Dakota.
As the MCU has marched on, we finally reached Phase 4. And most of the movies and Disney Plus series that we've seen in this phase have basically been, received mixed reviews and been pretty mediocre. So the question today is, can the newest film in this long-running series of films bring back some of the glory from the films of the earlier phases? This is Mike's After Action Reviews, and today we are doing the After Action review for Thor, Love and Thunder. So, as always, guys, we are going to start with the production for the film. There are 3 production companies. We have Marvel Studios, which is most well known for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in 2022. And then most recently, other than that movie and this movie, most recently did Spider-Man No Way Home in 2021. Now, did you see...
I did not.
Did you see did you see Spider-Man No Way Home?
I've wanted to, but I haven't had the chance to.
Okay, that's all right. That's right. By the way, you guys, you can tell that Dakota's new because he doesn't have his name on his shirt. So after this, we'll give him a name on the shirt. So if he comes back, he'll have his own name. So I saw Doctor Strange. I saw Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home was very good. It wasn't perfect, it had its issues, but it was very good. And I did a review of that, so you can check that out. And then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I thought was basically like average. Average. No big deal.
Okay.
And it was kind of a bait and switch because it was less about Doctor Strange and more about other characters, which is kind of related to this movie as well, so we're going to talk about that. So then we have Fox Studios Australia, which is most well known. And again, guys, as we go through these, please realize that all of the information as far as what they're most well known for, what they most recently did, is from IMDb. So if you disagree about what they're most well known for, take it up with IMDb. So, Fox Studios Australia, most well known for Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, in 2005, and then most recently did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Revenge of the Sith I really loved. Did you see it? You've seen the Star Wars, come on. You saw the Star Wars movies. No, I liked the originals. I liked the prequels. I understand that they're not perfect, but I really liked them because they completed the arc of Darth Vader, and then I think that they should have just stopped making Star Wars movies after that. Shang-Chi, did you see that one?
I didn't see that one. No.
So that one was pretty mediocre. It was as Bilbo Baggins would say,
butter scraped over too much bread.
That movie was really long and did not have any reason to be. They should have made it shorter and a little bit more concise, introducing the new character. It's going to be fun to see him in the rest of the MCU and stuff as he moves forward, but that was not the best movie, so I think I rated it as average, but I do have a review of that, so go check that out. Then we have Walt Disney Pictures, which is most well known for Lightyear, which came out earlier this year in 2020. Like, it literally came out last month. And then on Disney Plus, they have a movie that I haven't seen yet either. Most recently, it came out on Disney Plus. It was Trevor the Musical. It came out in 2022 earlier this year. Lightyear, have you seen it?
No, not yet.
Okay, and then Trevor the Musical?
No.
Okay, so Lightyear was really mired in some controversy. So when a property goes completely political with their marketing and with their stuff, especially the movies, I will back off of that and I'll just say I'm not going to review it, but my understanding from reviews that I've seen of it is that aside from all of the political marketing and stuff, there wasn't much of the actual political content of the movie. There wasn't much of it,
okay.
But then the movie itself wasn't very good. And then Trevor the Musical on Disney Plus, I haven't seen that. So,
right.
But I mean, Walt Disney Pictures has made some good movies, but those two just happen to be not the best, we'll just say. Well, Trevor the Musical's on Disney Plus, so I don't know. You can kind of decide what you think about the quality if you haven't seen it. So I would say that the production companies here, it's a solid base to start with. If you're going to make a movie, these are the types of, these are big AAA production companies. Big budget. Marvel Studios has been going on for all this time. Although, as I said in the intro, they have been pretty mediocre lately. Phase 4 has not been the best. And even if you think that you've liked even if you've liked all of the movies so far in Phase 4, it's true that a lot of people haven't, and the quality, objectively, has dropped. Okay, otherwise everybody would love them that loved the other ones, but anyway, so there is subjectivity to that, but yeah. So, and then going into the writing. So there were two major writers for this. Taika Waititi, who is most well known for What We Do in the Shadows in 2014, and then most recently he did Jojo Rabbit in 2019. He also is the big Thor guy. He did Thor Ragnarok, kind of revived the character of Thor. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
I haven't seen that one.
Or Jojo Rabbit?
Nope.
So that was supposed to be really good. I haven't seen either of those, but Scarlett Johansson. It was about the Nazis in World War II, and it's supposed to be pretty good.
I think I've seen some commercials for it.
Yeah, critically acclaimed. And then Thor Ragnarok, really good. You've seen that.
I've seen that one.
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
I feel like that is when things started to turn more towards the funny side. They tried to take and turn Thor's character into more of a comedic character instead of a hero.
Right. Yeah. And we'll get into that. Because that definitely ties into this. So then we have so great writer and all that stuff. And then we have Jennifer Caitlin Robinson, who is most well known for Someone Great in 2019. I haven't seen that one. And then also most recently did Unpregnant, one word, Unpregnant, in 2020. I haven't seen any of those. I don't know anything about this lady, but she did help write this movie. So as we get into what we think here and we go into our final review score, maybe you can start to make some decisions about how good of a writer she is based on this movie. So then the director. So this was directed by Taika Waititi. And then it's funny because he is most well known for What We Do in the Shadows for his writing. And also for directing. So he directed and wrote What We Do in the Shadows in 2014 and Jojo Rabbit in 2019. So those are the two he's most well known for. Okay. I know him better from Thor Ragnarok just because of what he did with the character and how it's his big MCU thing. And so it's interesting to see that on IMDb he's known for something else. So great director, liking really great writing so far. No red flags. Okay. Sometimes, as I've been a YouTuber doing the movie reviews, there's times when I'll see a writer or director, and I'm like, I bet you this isn't going to be that good.
Yeah.
So then we've got music by Michael Giacchino, who is most well known for Up. You've seen that, right?
Yeah,
Up was
I've seen
really
that
good,
one.
which is and it's known for its good music. So
yeah,
okay, and I think the music here was really great. So 2019, and then also he most recently did Lightyear, which was released earlier this year. And then Nami Melamad. I'm going to put up the spell. It's Melumad. Sorry if I butcher your name. I have a weird last name, too. Nobody can pronounce it, so I get where you're coming from. I'm sorry about that. So he is most well known for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is a series from 2022 to 2023. That's what it says on IMDb. I don't know how they know that it's going into the future, but I guess whatever. And then the movie Anastasia in 2020. So
okay, I've seen that one.
You've seen that. Now, what'd you think? What'd you think of the music?
The music was all right. It's hard to really put words to it.
Was it good?
It was all right.
It was okay, like average.
Yeah, I would say it was average.
Okay.
My sisters were more into it than I was.
Okay. More of like a girly movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would, again, writing and directorial staff here and the music, you can definitely tell you can see the fingerprints of Taika Waititi on this and the production companies, especially because like coming off of the back of Thor Ragnarok, then we get, and the big thing is the music. So we have music, comedy, and action are kind of the three big things that made Thor Ragnarok awesome here. And again, we do get those here. Some things that worked in Thor Ragnarok did not work here, and some things that didn't maybe appear in Thor Ragnarok appear here, which we'll get into whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. But anyway, okay, so then moving into the plot. So, first of all, I always forget to say this until the end, and then I think of it. The runtime was 2 hours. It was 1 hour and 59 minutes. Probably one of those situations where they did not want an over 2 hour movie, and so they had to probably cut things back. But sometimes the studio will come in and be like, you cannot have a 2 hour movie, so they cut it down. I don't know why they wouldn't make it at 2.5 hours. I think, actually, to tell you the truth, I'm completely satisfied with how long this movie was.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think it definitely didn't need to be shorter.
No.
It didn't feel too long. I think it was hit the sweet spot. It probably could have gone on for 2.5 hours, and that would have been okay, but then I wouldn't have been as good. It's one of those things, like I say, it's a 2 hour movie, perfect, right? If it would have been 2.5 hours, it wouldn't have been bad, but it wouldn't have been that perfect sweet spot.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so then so 2 hours long, hour 59 minutes. Then we have the IMDb plot summary is as follows. Thor's retirement is interrupted by a galactic killer known as Gore the God Butcher, who seeks the extinction of the gods. To combat the threat, Thor enlists the help of King Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster, who, to Thor's surprise, inexplicably wields his magical hammer, Mjolnir, as the mighty Thor. Together, they embark upon a harrowing cosmic adventure to uncover the mystery of the God Butcher's vengeance and stop him before it's too late. I want to put my hands together here for the production companies, or I'm not sure if it's the production companies or IMDb. I think it's the production companies that write this, but very good plot summary. A lot of times, especially recently, the IMDb plot summary, especially for if you went and saw, you saw Jurassic World Dominion?
I did.
So the IMDb plot summary was completely false. Like if you read that,
yeah, it was.
Yeah, you'd think the movie was about something completely different. But yeah, this is exactly what it was about, no more, no less, actually. So yeah. I like that. It was very good. So I'll let you start off being the guest. What did you think of, so just the plot, not the acting, not the characters, just the plot, the story that they were trying to tell. What did you think? Good idea, bad idea, groundbreaking? What's up?
I think the idea is good. I think they got off plot a little bit at times,
Okay.
Which I'm sure we'll go into later, but I thought it was a good plot.
Well, no,
overall.
Go ahead. What do you mean when they got off plot? No spoilers, but...
So, one thing that I thought was kind of difficult to follow at times was the original plot story when it kept bouncing back to the comedic side.
I get what you mean. Like, yeah, things are kind of bouncing back and forth between trying to be that Thor Ragnarok style comedy into the heavy themes of this movie, because there are some heavy themes here. So the opening of the film I really liked. They introduce us to the villain, Gore, and they give us his... Now, again, no spoilers, but they're giving us his motivation. They kind of show us this kind of sympathetic story with him, which is always great. So it's like Thanos. People really liked Thanos. And the reason that they really liked him is because they understood him. They got his motivation. He actually seemed... He didn't seem like he was a noble person. He didn't lie. He had honor. And, but he wanted to kill a bunch of people. And, but I'm saying, like, he was still an honorable guy in doing it.
Yes.
So that was cool. He looked you in the eye as he slaughtered your people. So yeah, and I think it was a really cool introduction. So they get into his sympathetic story, and then they also get into kind of setting up the world with some really good additions to the lore of the MCU when we get into like all of the different pantheons and gods, and we're expanding our ways out. And then even later on, they introduce one particular character, which I was in the theaters, and I know quite a bit about the comics. I don't know how much knowledge you have about the comics, but I know quite a bit. I know quite a bit about it. And so they introduce, and we're not going to get into it, but they introduce a new character at the end related to what's going on with Gore and all of these things. And I was like, oh man, this is opening it up to so many things. So that was really cool. They opened it up to so many different things here, and that was awesome. Okay, so that's like the intro. And then they do like a little reset where, and you've seen this in the trailers, because they do the narration with Korg where he's like, let me tell you about the story of the space Viking, you know, and they, but, okay, so this I liked, but I didn't like. And I liked because I like Korg, that's Taika Waititi. I thought that, you know, they were trying to be funny. But I didn't like it because as they're talking about Thor's character, they basically the narration talks about Thor from when he was the first MCU movies to now, and they make jokes about some of the people that have died, and some heavy stuff, and Korg is saying it like it's a joke. You know, it's like if I told you, like, let me tell you the story of Dakota. He's a great warrior, and his children were murdered, and his wife was beheaded in front of him. Ha ha ha! Like, wait, that's not funny. That's kind of like a sad story. Like, why are we making this a joke, you know? So I thought that was not I was like, ooh, that's a little bit, and so that lost me. But then, and you do get some of that in this movie, so it's very indicative of what's going to happen as we move forward. One thing I do want to note is that the Guardians of the Galaxy, when I talked to some people before I saw the movie, some people were saying, like, I'm kind of worried that it's going to be a lot about the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's not a problem. The Guardians of the Galaxy are in the beginning, and they help Thor kind of get set up on his way. Star-Lord in the beginning tells Thor that he needs to find the love that he's been missing in his life. They do this kind of joke of a goodbye where they're like, oh, you're gonna be fine. We're gonna leave you here, and then they, like, you can tell they're trying to get rid of him. Again, like, there's a lot of things that are kind of joking, and I don't know, coming off of that little narration from Korg and then seeing them acting jokingly, I was like, I don't know if I like that. The tone is weird. Yeah.
It's kind of a dark humor type of situation.
And I agree, but think about the fact that you see the intro with Gore, and like I said, you see kind of a sympathetic story, no spoilers, but you see like a sympathetic story, some things with him, and then you start seeing Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy making jokes, and you're like, oh, I don't know, like the tone. There's some tonal issues in the beginning, I will say. Maybe the first half there's some tonal issues.
And that's what I was saying earlier about how it was hard to follow the storyline when it kept bouncing back and forth that. It was very hard to follow the storyline when they kept going from one side of the spectrum to the other.
No, and I agree. But and I agree. I was just saying it's like exactly like a plot specifically. But yeah, the way that they're telling it is kind of goofy a little bit. Like, you have a very serious story and then very goofy, and it's like, I don't know. So basically, which is said in the IMDb summary and stuff here, gods are being killed. There's even a time when Thor kind of goes to the gods and is like, a bunch of other gods, and says like, hey, a bunch of gods are getting killed, man, we got to do something here. And there's some conflict with some of the other gods, and that's just kind of a little side. It's not like a side plot, but it has to deal with the journey getting to the big fight at the end. So about midway through the movie, there's like this little conflict that happens with other gods where Thor is trying to warn them and they don't want to hear it. And then kind of the big catalyst for everything, I do want to let everybody know, is that some Asgardian children get kidnapped by Gore. And so Thor is basically like, the whole journey is Thor, the big motivation is for him to get the kids back. Okay? And none of this is really spoilers. Actually, trust me, I'm telling you, we are not spoiling anything here by telling you what we've said. It may, but yeah, so he's on his adventure to like save these other gods' children, basically. I thought that the story here was done very well. I think that it brought us to a point where with the other gods and the other pantheons, we have unlimited movies that can be made about some of these characters. And they mention some characters, and we see some characters that are just probably you're going to get some comic book fans excited because it's like, I know who that is, we're going to bring all these people in. And so yeah, I thought that this was a really good idea. I think that if it weren't, like, I think you can definitely see Taika Waititi being a great writer. Good writing doesn't always win, but bad writing always loses, and Taika Waititi helped write this. And as I said, the other lady, Jennifer Caitlin Robinson, probably, I don't know, if all I saw of her writing was this movie, I would say she's an excellent writer. So anyway, okay, so then moving into acting and characters. Well, any other points you want to make about the plot or the story?
No, not really. I'm good.
Okay, so we're going to get into the acting and characters. I love this movie for its acting and characters because there's not too many. I'm getting sick and tired of all these movies where there's like 8 main characters and nobody knows what's going on. No, you never, like what was it, the Eternals, where the Eternals, they had like 8 people and you didn't really get a bunch of time with any of them or development of any of the characters. So here, though, we have Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, most well known for The Avengers in 2012. And then most recently did the movie, which is on Netflix, Spiderhead in 2022. I'm pointing that way because that's where my living room is, and my TV's in there, and that's where I watch Netflix. So Spiderhead over there. What did you think of Chris Hemsworth's acting, and what did you think of the character of Thor in this movie? Again, no spoilers.
I think that his acting was really good. He generally does very well with the Thor character in general. Mm-hmm. I feel like there were some off-the-wall kind of spots where things were just... So where it goes back to the bouncing between one extreme to the other, it had a lot of effect on him, and you could tell when he was getting outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
And he was better with the action than he was with the comedy.
Yeah.
Or at least I feel that way.
Well, like, again, a lot of this is going to be comparing to Ragnarok, just because Ragnarok was so good, and I would say is like gold standard for what Thor... I don't want to say gold standard. I think Ragnarok, at the time it came out, was exactly what Thor needed, and I think that this movie is moving in a different direction, is starting to kind of maybe move in a different direction for the character than what we've seen in the past, and that's what we need right now. There's like that goofy part in the trailer where you see Chris Pratt, and he's telling Thor, like, look at the people you love, and then you see Thor and he's like trying to sneak in there. And I mean, it's funny for about 5 minutes. Yeah. And then you know, like, that kind of stuff is funny for the character for about 5 minutes, and then you realize that we're dealing with a story about kids getting kidnapped and people getting murdered, and you're like, we need to move past being funny now and get into the seriousness of this story, especially with some of the themes. And I have it marked in the miscellaneous section. We're going to talk more more in depth. Anything else you want to say about the characters? I do have some stuff, but
I feel like some of the characters could have been used more.
Well, just Thor right now.
Oh, just Thor. I don't really have too much to put in on that. I've already said, I think, what I'll...
Everybody knows who Thor is. He's a great character. Chris Hemsworth's a great actor.
Yeah.
I do want to say that you get in the beginning of the movie... So one complaint... there's some really highly respected YouTubers that I watch and have listened to leading up to this movie talking about its promotional material. And one of the things you have to realize about Thor's character is that... Thor's character, from his first movie until now, he has been preparing to be, from the first movie until like Infinity War, he has been preparing to be the king of Asgard. Mm-hmm. Like, in the beginning, he had to learn humility. His second movie, he had to deal with loss. His third movie, he gained power. That's where he started to gain power from being powerful without using his hammer. And then in Infinity War, he gained the able to summon the Bifrost. So basically, what we have had is his character just arcing his way to being the king. Okay, and
kind of like his search for himself is, I guess, the best way to put it.
Yeah, right. Okay, so then, like I said, some other YouTubers I've watched and some other people have commented on the promotional material of this movie makes it out as if he's on a self-journey, like a journey of self-discovery.
I need to figure out exactly who I am.
And actually, that's stupid. Because his whole arc up to this point, like in Infinity War, Thor has found himself. Like in Infinity War, we saw Thor at his peak. He's gone through all of the changes he needs to go through. He needed, like, and we're going to get into some stuff, but he got to become the character that he needed to be and reach kind of his ultimate form or his peak or whatever was leading up to Infinity War. Okay, now, this movie, the promotional material of it makes it out like he's on another journey of self-discovery that he really doesn't need. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's a fake out. That's this. I even have said to people, this is like a bait and switch, but in a good way. So there's going to be people who are going to be looking for certain things in this movie, especially kind of some of the political ideology stuff. Mm-hmm. And they kind of showed it. The promotional material for it has been kind of heavier on that, and then it's not in the movie so much. Maybe little blink and you miss it moments. But maybe, and then if you look at the critics score for this, and I haven't watched any other reviews for it, but I've looked at the critic and audience score. Audiences are loving it, critics are not. Probably critics are not because there's some of that political stuff just isn't here, and that's what critics love nowadays, and the audience is sick of that crap. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so Thor's arc is not a journey of self-discovery in this movie. It's actually about Thor not having someone to love. That's why Chris Pratt tells him, go find the love. So if you look at, and it perfectly fits right in there. So you have learning humility, learning how to be a better person, dealing with loss in the second movie, becoming more powerful, gaining power, the power that you've always had within yourself, gaining it in Thor Ragnarok, and now finding love. See? So it's like the development continues, but Thor himself doesn't really change much in this movie from the Thor that we've always seen. Okay. Anyway. One thing is, and again I was kind of alluding to this, is that Thor is the true king. And as I said, his entire arc has been for him to become the king. And it's so stupid that Valkyrie is king right now. I'm sorry, this is one thing that I hated about this. There was an opportunity for some stuff to happen in this movie where I went like, yes, make that happen, and then make Thor the king. And you even see there's a scene where a bunch of stuff is going on and all the Asgardians are going, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And Valkyrie is in the middle going, oh, this, that, and the other. And everybody's screaming and all this stuff. And Thor walks in and he says, Asgard. And everyone listens. Why? Because Thor is Odin's son. Thor is the king of Asgard, and he needs to be the king. Like, what did you think of this? I talked to somebody about this, too, who was like, I do not like that. This was somebody at work, and they said, I just don't like that Thor isn't king. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't really resonate with his character. I mean, I understand the whole him not being ready to be king, but that was
in the first movie.
Yeah, that was the first, maybe the second. He wasn't ready. And then as it goes on, especially like in Ragnarok, is I feel like where he hit that point where
it's like he's king now.
Yeah. But he gets back to Earth and
Endgame.
Yeah.
Endgame ruined his character. And I will say that a lot of what we're getting here, and a lot of things that I think a lot of people are going to love, is literally correcting things that happened in Endgame. Seriously, like the eye thing, notice his eye. He doesn't have a different colored eye. Mm-hmm. They don't bring any attention to the eye thing anymore. They didn't make him king here, but a lot of this, like, he's not fat anymore. Yeah. The fat Thor thing was, like I said, funny for about 5 minutes, and then after that you're like, okay, come on now, Thor's got to stop being fat. We need the cool Thor. Thor's character was a specific way. He is not as stupid in this movie as we've seen him in the past. In certain movie, and I'm not talking about like Thor 1 and 2 where he maybe is not a good guy. In Thor Ragnarok, though, they really did. He wasn't so... In Thor Ragnarok, I don't think that he was unintelligent, but in Endgame, I think that he was. I think like they made... Like Fat Thor, they made him a joke. And here, he's still kind of comedy. Like, my point is, in Thor Ragnarok and with Taika Waititi writing, Thor is making the jokes, and then in Endgame, the Russo brothers made Thor the joke. Like, he wasn't making the jokes. Okay, and then here, they're turning away from that a little bit, where maybe we're still getting quite a bit of comedy, but it's turning away from making Thor a joke. It's turning away from making Thor a comedian, and it's turning him into the noble hero that we all know that he can be. And so I'm really satisfied with that. And I think that it's turning us in a direction we needed to go. One thing that I do want to say is that Ragnarok, again, at the time it was released, was exactly what the character needed, but Ragnarok was like a bowl full of candy. It was funny, it was action, it was pop, it was like, hey man, awesome, this is fun. But you can't eat candy every day. And so we need some more...
Veggies.
Yeah, meat. We need some
That
more
too.
meat. We need meaty Thor, not candy Thor, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Not too sugary. We need some beef. Anyway, yeah, so this is getting into like the meat of his character rather than just being a bunch of fun. Yeah, okay, so we spent a lot of time on this because this was important. And I will say, don't be worried. A lot of this stuff is a fake out in the promotional material. This movie is about Thor. It's not about other characters. This movie is about Thor. It's about his development as a character, his actions, a bunch of things. Yeah. Okay. So then we get into Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman plays Jane Foster. Well, she's most well known for Black Swan in 2010, and most recently did Lucy in the Sky. Have you seen those?
I have not seen those.
Okay, so I've seen Black Swan, really great drama movie. Lucy in the Sky, I think it's another drama-style movie where she is an astronaut. But she is reprising her role as Jane Foster. And just before I let you take it away here for a minute, I do just want to say that Jane... This is something that really irritated a lot of people in who read the comic books, and it almost destroyed Thor as a comic book character within the comics. Like, the comics didn't sell, it didn't do well. Is that Jane is not a Thor. She's not, quote-unquote, a Thor. She has the power of Thor. Mm-hmm. And I want to point this out because it's like, when Captain America picked up Thor's hammer and wielded the power of Thor, he was not Captain Thor.
No.
He was Captain America with the power of Thor. Jane Foster is not a Thor, like they refer to her in this movie, which is completely wrong. She is just Dr. Jane Foster who has the power of Thor. I didn't like that. I think that that's even offensive. You know, there's people who actually like worship Thor as a god today, and that's kind of offensive to the character to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, what do you think about Jane Foster / Femme Thor?
So...
Femme Thor is a colloquialism. Again, she is not a Thor. She is just a female who has Thor's powers.
Yeah. So, I thought that she did really well. I'm trying to find a way to say without giving out too much. So,
yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah. So, she's going through a rough time, and...
there's some stuff with her character. We'll just say that there's some deep stuff going on with her character. Yes.
Yes. And she... really plays it out really well. I don't see really any issues with her character. Maybe her battle to try and find herself in all of this with the transition of trying to be the
superhero.
Yeah, the superhero alongside Thor in this situation, and before her and Thor start working together, being the superhero in general. She kind of struggles to find herself in that.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'll agree with that. I think that, so Natalie Portman is a great actress. Anytime that you see her in something, you'll know that you're getting some quality stuff here. I do want to say that the emotion, and I want to put some people's minds at ease here, because I do want to say that the character's arc does not take away from Thor's arc in the movie's narrative. They actually complement each other really well, because while in the comic books they literally usurp Thor's power and title and try to give it to a female character who is not actually Thor, here they don't do that. They complement each other. It's done better here than it was done in the comic books. Or if you're a comic book fan and you're afraid of this, it's not like that. It's done more respectfully to Thor here than it was done in the comic books, and it's better explained, because in the comic book run, they had the whole, now the mighty Thor is actually Jane Foster, and then Thor is a little puke doing nothing because he's not worthy anymore. Thor is in fact worthy here, and that's a huge part of it, and it makes the character... It's a very important part of the character. Like, you see him pick Mjolnir up and he says, just making sure, and it's kind of like a little joke, but that's something that comic book characters needed. Our comic book readers needed, because in the comic books they literally said that Thor wasn't worthy of the hammer, which... Thor has been around for a long time, and for his arc to end with him not being worthy of the hammer is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. And when they made those comic books failed. I mean, they didn't sell, and people were really irritated with them, and maybe critics liked them, but audiences did not.
And And I feel like with all of him trying to see if he was still worthy of Mjolnir, I don't see how he would be worthy of, the axe that he helped to create.
So I want to say something. The axe you don't need. Because this is something that I've heard before. The axe, you don't need to be worthy to lift the axe.
Yeah.
That's why Thanos could lift the axe.
That makes sense.
The reason that you need to be worthy to lift Mjolnir is because of Odin. When
Right.
Odin said you have to be worthy. Okay, but the axe he can lift anytime. Okay, I do just want to. Okay, so then there's a Thor in. So this is playing into how they do this better. As far as Jane Foster getting Thor powers, they get into the relationship history between Thor and Jane, and this is like spoiler light. This is not a real spoiler, but it's just like a little mechanism I'm going to explain to you that you don't get from the promotional material. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They explain throughout their history. They show a little flashback where they show basically what happens in between. What is it? Thor: Dark World and Ragnarok, or in all of these movies they show while they're together that he would their relationship kind of got rough because he would have to leave all the time, but that they really did love each other. And at one point they're sitting together and he has Mjolnir and he taps Mjolnir, puts his hand, because he has the hammer and the axe are both kind of sentient in some way. They're magical items that are a little bit sentient, which we've seen in other stuff like Lord of the Rings. The ring is sentient, stuff like that. But he taps Mjolnir and he says, "Always protect Jane." And when that happens, you see the little symbol that is like, "Oh, if whosoever wields this hammer, if he be worthy," you see that kind of activate and light up, and that explains why Jane is worthy. Because basically, with everything going on with Jane, which we're not going to spoil, the hammer comes to protect her. And it's awesome. And it's so much better than what is in the frickin' comics. The comic book writers need to learn from Taika Waititi. Yeah. And then along with that, you do get some romantic tension between Jane and Thor, which is interesting to see after so many years. Like there's the scene that's in the trailer where he's like, "Oh, how long has it been? Like 3-4 years?" And Thor's like, 8 years, 6 months, 4 days, couple of hours and 15 minutes. Like he's tracking because he really loves her. Mm-hmm. He really loves her, and so there's tension there, and I think she really loves him too. Mm-hmm. There's just things didn't work out, and so you have to see the movie. No spoilers, okay. So then we have do you have anything else to say about Jane as a character or Natalie Portman as an actress?
No.
Okay, so then we have Tessa Thompson, who plays Valkyrie. She's most well known from Creed in 2015, and most recently did Passing in 2021. I've seen Creed. I did not see Passing. I have no idea who she played in Creed. I've seen Creed. I don't remember her being in it.
I believe she played the girlfriend that was losing her hearing, wanted to be a musician.
Okay, yeah, which is fine. Fine actress and all that stuff like that. I will tell you this. Well, you go ahead. What do you think of it first? Tell me about her acting, her character. What do you think?
Really, there wasn't too much actual acting until things started heating up and getting into battle. And really, it was more towards the beginning, she was more just trying to put on a face for her public figure than actually being out in...
She's in some commercials, yeah.
Yeah. And some magazines. They were doing shots for magazines as well. And it showed some of the magazines that she was in. But it was more just little snippets of her going in to be just more of a figurehead than an actor. Yeah. Or actress.
Yeah, so I want to say that she basically, what I think of her is that she was fine in Ragnarok being kind of a drunk, comedic bounce off and kind of being drab and down and depressed and then helping Thor. Fine. The actress did fine for the character, but I'm going to tell you, her being king of Asgard is the most unnecessary and irritating thing, because again, Thor should be king. She's unnecessary. In this movie, she actually is quite unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like she's basically a side character that they try to elevate to being a main character. Like they really want you to see her, but she doesn't do anything. She has no purpose. Like if it would have been just Jane and Thor, you wouldn't have missed anything.
And like you had said earlier, there were a lot of opportunities to change all of that. Especially like when what you were saying, whenever Thor comes in and he takes charge of everything, and everyone just looks to him and just follows what he says and does what he's asking, because he is supposed to be the king. He is the rightful king of Asgard, and this movie just doesn't really give you that. It doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, it was disappointing for them not to capitalize on it.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but
Oh, no, you're fine.
No, because like you were kind of like reading my mind there and what I was trying to say. Yeah, too. So basically not a whole lot to say about her character because she's just doesn't get very much screen time. But then we have Zeus. Russell Crowe plays Zeus. What'd you think? Well, okay, Russell Crowe is most well known for Les Mis or Les Miserables in 2012, and then he most recently did the movie Unhinged in 2020. What'd you think?
Okay, so I feel that Zeus was massively overplayed.
Okay.
Zeus is very much a joke in this movie.
Okay.
I mean, he first off, just the way he acts, his priorities, the way that everything just plays out with Zeus, it's more. I feel like it more makes fun of Zeus than it does actually displays who Zeus really was.
Okay. What do you think of the acting, though?
The acting, it was good. I mean, I can't complain too much about his acting. He does pretty well.
Yeah, it's good to see, like, Russell Crowe is a very serious actor in most of the stuff. It's cool to see him get to let loose a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll say this. Okay, so Zeus in the universe of the MCU now is the super powerful leader of Omnipotent City. Omnipotent City is kind of a sanctuary city of the gods, where the gods can go and congregate and maybe meet, have meetings, discuss different things, and they're just all the superpowered people are there. Separate from that, you have things like Asgard and Mount Olympus, and where they all separate and go their own ways. And it even explains like that. They kind of explain the hierarchy of the gods and how the gods work, where, you know, the issues of the Greeks are dealt with by the Greek gods, and the Asgardians don't interfere, and then the issues with the Asgardians is by the Asgardian gods, and yeah, okay. But anyway, okay. He is a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really goofy and weird, and he's very arrogant. Is it arrogance if you are the most powerful? I don't, I just want to say, you can really tell that you can tell that he was being, I will say this, they did it in a good job where you could really tell that even though he was being goofy and weird, you could be like, man, but I wouldn't want to get into a fight with that guy.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I think it was intentional because there is some stuff towards the end of the movie. Again, no spoilers, but there's some stuff towards the end of the movie where they really explain. And it's like, okay, I can see where you would intentionally make a joke of a guy. And Thor himself even says, like, how the mighty have fallen. I used to look up to you. You used to be my hero. And now you're just basically a joke. You're a big, fat, scared, arrogant joke of a god. And so Thor says that, and I'm like, okay. And then towards the end of the movie, you get some stuff, and you're like, okay. So you can see where they basically took this guy who was this great hero, made him a little bit of a joke, and then kind of set it up for in the future. There's going to be maybe a redemption of him, or a redemption of the idea of the gods who are, again, kind of being a little bit arrogant and all that. So yeah, I actually thought that it was good. Like I agree with you. Like I did, it would have been great to see him be the cool dude, but the way that you can tell that they were setting something up for something else. So that was cool. And it's a great to see the introduction because they are Marvel comic book characters. All of the Greek gods, all of the Asgardian gods, other gods.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the soup god.
What's that?
The soup god.
The soup god.
You didn't see that one?
No, I didn't see the soup god.
Watch for the soup god.
Okay.
It's funny.
Yeah, watch for the soup god. So then the last character we'll mention is we're kind of wrapping it up here. I know we're taking a little bit long here. Christian Bale. He's the villain. He plays Gore, the God Butcher. He's most well known for The Dark Knight in 2008, and then most recently did Ford versus Ferrari in 2019.
That was great.
Okay, I didn't see Ford versus Ferrari, but I know he's a great actor, and he's got another movie coming out that's being advertised right now. It's called Amsterdam, I think. But what do you think of Christian Bale? What do you think of Gore?
So, Gore, he's dark and twisted, and he fits that. He fits that so well. I mean, in The Dark Knight, that is who he is. I mean, that's who he is.
Yeah.
He's always been that kind of dark and kind of twisted, lost individual. And Gore really suits that perfectly. I mean...
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I've seen people say, like, you either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain. And then with Christian Bale, like, you see, like,
Yes.
Christian Bale finally lived long enough to become the villain.
Yeah.
There is something that stops Christian Bale, not Christian Bale, but stops Bruce Wayne and Batman from being the Joker.
Yeah.
And that is his sense of doing what is right. He feels a lot of the same things. He's broken in a lot of the same ways, but he has an inarguable sense of, I will give justice. I will do justice and good. And here, we basically get that ethos of kind of the Batman versus Joker, except the Batman doesn't have that. So what you end up with is basically the Joker. You basically have Christian Bale playing a God-powered Joker character, and it is great to see, and he does a really good job.
He does.
So anything else you want to say about him, though? I think
I've said just about it the best as you can say it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that he looked great. So if you see in the
did.
comic books, I'll put up a picture of what he looks like in the comic books. He looks really cool. He's got the grayscale color with the golden eyes. He wields the Necro Sword, which is basically where he gets a lot of his power. He can kill gods with it, and then it also allows him to summon some shadow demons. So there's that going on. He's a man broken by sadness, and he's out to basically, he went a little bit crazy and out to get a little bit of revenge on those that he perceives as being the evils in the world that have created his sadness. So that's what's going on with him, and he's acted very well, and I was really happy. One critique, though, is that I wish that they just would have had, I wish they would have had more of him. He's probably going to go down as maybe one of the best MCU villains at this point, better than, I think one is Loki. They've always said Loki.
Yeah.
I think that he's not as good as Loki, but he's better, and Loki now is kind of a hero, but he's better than Ultron. Ultron is one that they've said is some great MCU villain. I think that he's probably going to be one of the best now. One thing, though, is that, like, in Thor Ragnarok, you got a lot of Hela and develop with her and learning her personal story. It would have been cool to have a little bit more screen time with Christian Bale as Gore. So that would have been cool. Okay, so let's move into, if you don't have anything else to say about acting, I think the acting here in the movie was great, so that's awesome. Because of time, I'm going to give you the floor for the miscellaneous section, and then I'm going to go through some things pretty quickly, but we're going to move into the miscellaneous section now. So, miscellaneous section, what's some other comments, critiques, other things you want to say? No spoilers.
I feel that a lot of the movie, it kind of... There are so many stories going on.
Okay.
I feel they tried to fit so much into one movie. The setup with Zeus, the whole situation with Thor and Jane, and one thing that I thought was kind of aggravating, it showed a few little parts with the other doctors, but you really didn't see much of them at all. One, he came over, I can't remember his name.
Selvig or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came over the
Computer.
computer, and I mean, you didn't even see his character at all. It was just him talking to Jane over the computer, and that was it. I wish we could have got them a little more active in the situation, but all in all, I thought it was a great movie by itself.
Okay.
In the line of the
As I don't give your
Thor
final review score, but
right
Moving on.
in the line of the Thor movies, it doesn't really match up entirely.
Okay.
If you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
But I think that it.
You think this one kind of sticks out a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
It sticks out.
Do you think it was as good, better, or worse than Ragnarok?
I think it's kind of on par, not necessarily.
Like it's on par but different?
Yeah, it's on par.
Okay, so then I'll go through my miscellaneous section stuff here real quick. I thought there was great action. It's interesting to the action was just awesome. I said they have great music with it too. They get into seeing New Asgard, and you see like so we all already know it from the promotional material. Jane Foster picks up Thor's hammer. Okay, but you do see before she does, you see like Thor's hammer is on display. Yeah. And they say they're in the shard. Even the shards of the hammer are immovable. So that means that New Asgard is in the location where they fought Hela. Mm-hmm. So they're on display on the ground, so people like get down and look at them and they're like, oh. But it's kind of become a tourist place because there's all this Asgardian magical stuff, and we've kind of gotten the same idea in the MCU with like Black Panther. Wakanda is known to the world now. Asgardians are known to the world now. Superheroes. We're really getting a comic book world. There's like the MCU has been building up to this comic book world where all these awesome godlike characters are existing, and it's becoming commonplace now in the world. Because like even when the first Iron Man movies came out, there were no superheroes. Basically, you know. There was another one of those really funny Asgardian plays where they parody the other movies, which was really fun. It has Chris Hemsworth's brother, Luke Hemsworth. He plays Thor. You have Matt Damon playing Loki, and then Sam Neill from the Jurassic Park movies. He plays Odin, so that was cool. And you see them doing it, so it's a little funny part. That comedy I appreciated. That was cool.
Yeah.
Because it's a callback to other movies. But then, like I said, the comedy in the first half of this just kind of makes the tone of the movie really weird. They get into this thing about how the weapons are a little bit sentient. Not completely so, not like they're self-aware necessarily, but they have a little bit of sentience. And so you see Stormbreaker acting a little bit moody because Thor, he tries to do the thing where he tries to like summon Mjolnir. He's like calling to Mjolnir, and then you see Stormbreaker come around almost as if he's like Stormbreaker's watching, like what? Why you cheating on me with somebody else or something? So that was a little bit funny. I did appreciate that. One thing that was cool is kind of in the end in the trailers you'll see the grayscale of the shadow. That's the shadow realm. Yeah. So they go into the shadow realm, and you see all of their weapons, and Thor's eyes light up, and Gore's eyes light up because they're glowing gold, and the weapons all lighting up blue with blue lightning and gold and all of this stuff as they fight looked really cool. So that was some awesome cinematography and some cool scenes in the final fight. They do get, which again it's in the trailers, Zeus's bolt. Yes. Zeus's bolt is an awesome weapon, and they get to use it in the film against Gore, so that's pretty cool. So it's Thor with Stormbreaker, and Valkyrie with Zeus's bolt, and then Jane Foster with Mjolnir. Mjolnir gets some cool stuff too because it was broken into pieces. You see Jane, she like will fling it out, and those pieces will fly around and go through a bunch of people, and then she can call them back. So you get some really cool action and some cool cinematography, some awesome stuff to see. So we get some really cool side character introductions. We get Axel, who is Heimdall's son. Now in the comics, I believe in the comics, but also just in Norse mythology in general, there was Astrid, who was Heimdall's daughter. I think she was Heimdall's daughter in the comics, but in the actual Norse mythology, it was like an adopted daughter. But anyway, they've made that character now Axel. I don't know why they did that. They probably just didn't find an actress they liked or something. I don't know. But it was Axel, who is Heimdall's son. He has the same ability as Heimdall, as being able to use magical eyes, so that was cool. We get Sif. So Sif was in the first Thor movie and also in the Loki series, but she's kind of being reintroduced into the Thor universe. Awesome to see her back. I love that actress. Okay, so now getting into kind of the bad stuff. There's only really one bad thing I have to say about this, and we've already kind of covered it. I'm just going to go through this real quick. Jokes are less appropriate and less effective than they were in Ragnarok. Inconsistency in the film's tone and pacing. Basically, we have some very, very serious things happening in this. The second half of this movie... So the first half of this movie has a lot of the comedy. The second half involves death, debilitating diseases, lost love, and kidnapped children. And it's weird because so much darker and serious than the first half, and you're kind of just thinking, like, why didn't we just temper that first... I think they could have tempered that first half's comedy a little bit better, and then would have gone in a little bit smoother into the second half. When you want... And you can tell that we're turning away from Ragnarok a little bit. Thor isn't going to be... I hope, anyway, that Thor isn't going to be a joke of a character moving forward, and I think that that's what they're trying to go with. They're trying to wean you off of Thor being more comedic. Then we have the after-credit scene. There's two. So there's a mid-credit and an after-credit scene. The first one is a new character introduction, which we were both very excited for. I'm very happy. Oh, good. And then we have an interesting character resolution for one of the characters in the actual official end credit scene, and that's pretty cool. So definitely stick around in theaters, or if you watch it later, stick around for those credit scenes. Okay, so that's basically the end of our review here. Let's get into our final statement and review score. So I always have the guests go first, and, I know that you've seen the videos and stuff, but I'm going to go over this with you for the audience, and then for you, Dakota's new. So here at Mike's After Action Reviews, I always say we use a 5-fingered review system. We have bad, below average, above average, and excellent. So tell us where it falls on there, and excellent is like world-changing, and then bad is like just, Okay. Averages doesn't mean that a film is bad. It just means that, it's average. It's like you sit and watch it, and it's good or whatever, And then you can also say, like, high average, low average, high above average, stuff like that. So, give us your final review score, and then tell us why you feel that way.
I'd say it's above average. I'd say high above average.
Okay.
It was, by itself, it was a great movie. It could have done great, especially had you not gone and seen the other ones, and because I felt that it didn't match up with the others. It just stuck out that much. But it did have a good transition from the Thor Ragnarok being more comedic and then coming back into that more serious tone. I just wish that they had smoothed out the comedy a bit. Is where I come in not being able to put it at excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to go along the same lines. I'm going to give this one a big thumb up. One thumb up, and just say above average. I'm also going to say high above average. I would say that the only reason that I don't give this an excellent is, one, that they didn't make Thor the King of Asgard, and you still have Valkyrie, who's a just annoyingly unneeded character. If her character was more of a side character, I would have been much more happy. The character is not a bad character, but she just does not need to be king, and her arc did not lead her to be king. So that was just stupid. Like I said, fixed a lot of things that they messed up with the character in Endgame, so I thought that was cool. They handled Jane Foster with the power of Thor very appropriately, better than the comics, which I did say before, and actually more respectfully to the original character of Thor, and I really liked that. Great writing. Great writing from Taika Waititi. I actually feel like if it was just Disney, this almost, you know what this feels like? This feels like Disney came to Taika Waititi and said, hey, we want you to put these political points in your movie, and then he said, okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm not really going to do it, and that's why you get the promotional material that shows a lot of these, like, girl power moments. And this is not really like a girl power moment. I mean, it's not like a misogynist movie, but it's not really a girl power movie. It's a good movie, is what it is. It's not a girl power movie. It's not a political movie. It's a good movie. And some of those things are in there, but they're blink if you miss it, because a lot of that kind of stuff would detract from the story anyway, so that's actually nice to see a writer / director who knows how to do this thing and balance things out. The themes about the use of power and kind of like the misuse of power, love, sacrifice, redemption, renewal, all of those things really come together to make a really heartfelt story here, and we get another level of connection with Thor that we haven't had in the past, which is really cool, as far as him like searching for love and kind of trying to complete himself. Again, he should be the king of Asgard, and now he's like trying to really complete the character, and that's really great. The biggest thing that is lowering the score for me, which is very similar to basically what you said, is that we still get Thor being a little bit of a joke, and I'm really sick and tired of him not being the king of Asgard. So, highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. Yeah, and I would say even for all ages too. I would, like adults, kids. Yeah, definitely everything. It's awesome. Yeah. It's really, really great movie. High, above average, almost excellent. Hopefully the next one will get the excellent.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what we've got today, guys. We do want to thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this review. Hope that you enjoyed the movie. And just to final out here, we want to say God bless you all and have a good day.